Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of the CEO Clinician Podcast. I am your host, Cameisha Brewer Dickerson, and today you are in for another treat. We are doing a live recording of the episode with a very special guest, Emily Dillon. And today we're going to be talking about all the things about private practice ready. So, y'all have heard us talk about it. This is our signature 8-week coaching program for brand new therapists, teaching them how to set up, structure, and market their private practice without relying on directories or paid ads in just 60 days. And so we wanted to bring Emily in, one of our graduates from the program, so she can tell you guys about her journey, how she started, like started from the bottom, now we here, and just talk about all the things. And it's going to be really good. So I'll stop talking. And Emily, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Cameisha. Thanks so much for having me on. My name is Emily Dillon. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I practice in Los Angeles and throughout California virtually. I help adults with adolescent trauma heal emotional wounds and process their past so they can find peace in the present.
I'm here for the I help statement. And so for those of y'all that have been following me or you've been coming to my 3-day challenges, you know about the I help statement. This is your value proposition statement that clearly states who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how you help them. And that is the key to getting a lot of referrals so people can kind of screen themselves out about whether or not you're the therapist for them. So if you don't have an I help statement, send us a DM immediately so we can help you get that together because you need that. So, Emily, I love your niche. I love all the things you're doing. And of course, because like you wouldn't be here if I didn't. But I think your story and your journey and even how you got to this niche is really going to be really helpful for a lot of new therapists listening to the podcast. So, let's talk about it. How did you get into this type of niche with
Mhm.
teens and adults and adolescent trauma? Like, how'd you even get there?
So I spent the last 8 years as a psychiatric social worker for a large school district. And so I've spent years working in the high school. I've worked in elementary school as well, but I spent my primary years there working at a large high school. And I just loved working with teens. I loved working with their families. I did a lot of crisis intervention. I did a lot of supporting adolescents through trauma. And so it was just something I felt really comfortable with and something I felt, a passion for. And so when thinking about what I wanted to do in private practice, it just made sense, right? And so I actually started with a different I help statement. This is my evolved I help statement. So my initial I help statement was I help teens and parents build healthy relationships, heal trauma, address negative family patterns, improve communication, and establish clear boundaries.
Love
So
that.
that's where I started. And you can see I've evolved because that's what's happened through my marketing. So people in adults have come to me saying, "Hey, I know I'm not a teenager, but I have a lot of trauma that happened when I was a teen, and I think we'd be a good fit to work together." And I've really been enjoying working with those clients. So now I'm kind of moving the needle a little bit.
I love, 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 love that because I think that's important for people to know is that once you start with the niche, it's not about, excluding a certain group of people, but it's more about including the people you really want to serve, that you're passionate about, and the people that you're most equipped to help. But I think that it's good that you were flexible enough to allow your I help statement to evolve and to grow with you as your practice grows. And that's okay. I think a lot of therapists that get hung up on that, like, oh, I got to have a statement or I got to have a niche and I can't see anybody else. Not true. I'm not telling y'all to turn down opportunities because the more you grow and your practice is very young, and we'll talk about in a minute like when you actually started and launched your practice, but as you go things will change. Like the way I serve clients now, even in my practice 5 years in, totally different. Even on a consultation call, I know what I'm looking for, I know what I'm listening
Mhm.
for, I know if they're a good fit, I know if they're not, and it's like one or two words they can say and I'm like, nope, this is not what I do. Time to refer out. And I don't have to try to serve clients that are not a good fit. And I think that's the beauty of private practice. So kudos to you, Emily.
Thank you.
So let's talk about it. I think you finished the program April of this year. So talk
Correct.
about like the journey of building your caseload and what has been happening since April.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I decided to do the program so that my goal was to open in April. And so, when I went to the 3-day challenge, it was like fortuitous, perfect timing, right? Like it was just at the point where I really needed a push. And, I was still working for the school district. I was very stressed out. I was having a hard time really owning the idea that I was a therapist, right? I had been a school social worker. That was so built into my identity, and it still is, right? It's still my background. But, I think I was just feeling really overwhelmed. I had a lot of the logistics figured out, but sort of that ownership over me being a business owner, me being a private practice uh, owner, me being a therapist, that was all very new to me. And so I was barely opening my doors. And, through the program, I think I was really given the push that I needed in order to do things like press publish on my website. Cameisha said, "Okay, I'm ready to audit your website. can you send me the link?" And I was like, "The link? It's not published." Right? And so that was really the moment when I needed to send it to you, where I opened my business, because when you push publish on your website, now you're there. Now people can see you, they can find you. And so that's where I started, back, I guess it was like 5 or 6 months ago now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally remember that moment with you and your on your coaching call about publishing the website because and this is something I had a call with a therapist yesterday and we were talking about publishing, but she was working on a directory and I was like, we have to drive traffic to the directory if you're going to use one. We got to drive traffic to the website. So the second you push publish, millions of people can't see it immediately, but soon enough, as clicks start, and this is SEO, as
Mhm.
that starts, then yes, people will see your stuff and they will be ready to work with you or tell other people about you. So it is a pivotal moment of hitting that publish button on the website. And can you go back and unpublish? Yeah, but for what? But like once it's published, it's like, okay, we're doing this. Like this is really, really happening. And I think you handled it well. I think you handled it with grace.
Thanks. It was great. It was a really important moment. I think it was the moment that I had to let go of some imposter syndrome.
hmm Yeah. Before we get into like the business decisions that you made with like your payer sources to help fill the practice, can you speak to what the transition is like coming out of school based,
Mhm.
being in a large area where you are and having some of those reservations about starting and not telling too many people because you're still under your contract? Because I know a lot of our listeners, that's where they are. They're trying to make that
Yeah.
shift and that transition. So can you speak to that?
Yes, it is definitely awkward, I think is a word that comes to mind. Fortunately, at the district I'm at, I am allowed to practice. Uh, I can't see clients who also go to the school's district, so that was the conflict of interest that I had to be aware of. But even if you're allowed to, like, you don't want to step on toes, right? You want to be very thoughtful about that transition, and it can feel a little scary. I think something that helped was finding a network of people doing it also, right? Whether they were leaving the school district or another entity, just finding a community of people. And I was able to do that through Cameisha's program. I was also able to do that through Facebook, right? Like just being in those spaces. And you can post anonymously. I know a lot of people do, right? Because they're trying to make sure they're being subtle and thoughtful about their employer. But I would say, don't let it stop you, right? Like you got to follow your heart. You got to know what it is you want to do with your life, and you got to listen to what your gut is telling you. And so there are definitely ways to get the information you need, build a network that helps you make the transition, and to do it in a way that's ethical, that's thoughtful, and that sets you up well. So definitely don't let that be the thing that stops you from it. But I do acknowledge that it takes a little bit of of planning, and I think that's what I did, right, with Cameisha and on
hmm
my own. Just really thinking through how I wanted to create my transition plan and making one.
Yeah. That's so amazing. And I think, for a lot of therapists who are in who wait, you are not there, but when you were in that situation and now you're out, the planning and the transition and not knowing what's okay to do and what's not okay, I think it keeps a lot of therapists like crippled
Mhm.
and paralyzed and feeling like you're a slave to an agency. You know what I mean? And like you're not, they don't own you. Are you under contract? Yeah. Can you get out? Yes. Like it's not a lifetime commitment when you sign up to work for an agency or a school district. Like there are things you can still do behind the scenes as you're transitioning that nobody has to know about. So a lot of the therapists that are in private practice ready still work for their agencies.
Hmm.
So we don't publish their success story testimonial videos until they leave, or we don't put their screenshots up of, hey, thanks so much for helping me build my case. So it's nobody's business. We will keep your secret until you're ready. We'll keep your secret forever if you want us to, but we do understand that sometimes it is scary because you don't know what the backlash could be. And everybody's not built for that type of conflict. As much as we would like to say, those of us that are in private practice and free from agency life, oh, do you don't let those people hurt. Well, you got to go to work every day. And who
Hmm.
wants to go to work and there's conflict and hostility and people looking at you crazy or talking about you? Like, it's a really scary feeling because there's always the fear of, like, what if they let me go? Like, you still have bills, even though you are building your practice. So, thank you for sharing the planning process and the transitioning
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
All right. So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about the business and the business mindset and what is required, and talk about how you made the decision for your payer source, like to go the
Hmm.
insurance route and what kind of led to that decision.
Yeah. So when I talk to people about starting a private practice, because I have had some coworkers and colleagues reaching out just to get their feelers out there, and something that I really start with is you do want to create at least a very simple business plan. Uh, and in that business plan, what I did and what Cameisha helped me to navigate is really understanding my reasons why. Why do I want to be in private practice? Like, what are the goals for my life? Not just my professional life, but me holistically, right? And I went into private practice for a lot of reasons that were holistic, right? About my family, about my health, my well being. And so, really understanding your why. When I say thinking about it, like write it out, put it in your business plan. And next to the why, also your goals. And not just your business goals, but your life goals. What do you want your life to look like 5 years from now? What do you want it to look like 1 year from now, 6 months from now, right? Like, what are the things that you want? Once you have those lists, once you know what your bottom lines are, now you have a guide with which to make business decisions with, right? How should I pick a payer source? Okay, well, what are my goals? What are my reasons why? So, one of my goals was that I really wanted to be able to make a quick exit. I wanted to be able to have last school year be my last semester working for the school system. And so that was one of my goals, right? I did not want to spend 6 months to a year building up a private pay caseload. So I chose a number. I did my research. I talked to different networks because I work with the networks, I work with Alma and Grow. But I spoke to all of them. I made a big pros and cons list. I decided what my rate for insurance had to be, right? What it could not go under, based on my needs, based on how much I wanted to work, based on my bottom lines, right? I wanted to work less. And so I have a rate for insurance that I accept. Anything that is under that, I do not take that insurance. I do not work with those networks, right? So that's just one example of how I was able to look at my bottom line, look at my whys, look at my goals, and say, this is who I will accept insurance from.
That's so good. And I think for many therapists, like, they don't think like that, right? Which I think validates the need for a program like private practice. Right? I wasn't thinking like that when I first started my private practice, and I was taking um lower rates, private pay rates, and lower insurance rates. And there's always room to negotiate. But I do think, like module 2 of the program is on compensation made easy, but it's being clear on your numbers at
Mm-hmm.
home. Like, if you literally need $7 or $8,000 per month because of where you live and your mortgage or your rent, you can't do sessions for $80 an hour. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way. There's not enough time in a day. And so it's so important to be on top of your numbers so you can make those business-based decisions with evidence to support it. If you decide to do a speaking engagement, I think we talked about this in one of your coaching calls too. How much do you need to charge for that speaking
Mm-hmm.
engagement? Well, how much breathing room do you need? You want to get 3 car payments ahead, and that's how much you charge them. Like, your pricing structure really can be practical. Even though you're just starting out in private practice, we have experience. We have all these licensures, all these different certifications. Everything doesn't dictate a price point. There's some people who have way less training than us who charge buku with confidence and get it. And they
Yep.
absolutely get it. And I think as therapists. I'm not saying, charge whatever, but I think your evidence-based business decision should be informed and support your
Hmm.
lifestyle to meet your goals for your family and for your practice.
Absolutely.
So let's talk more about your practice and like what you do, how you do it, groups, one-on-one sessions. Like what have you accomplished through your practice since the program?
Yeah. So right now I am working with individuals and families. Because I work with teens, because I work with those with adolescent trauma, sometimes we are bringing in family members, adult siblings. Sometimes we're doing relationship repair. So that's where I'm focused right now. I have 25 clients. I don't see all of them weekly. I have about, I would say, 12 to 17 appointments a week, depending on where I'm at with individual clients and the family sessions. But that allows me to live a lifestyle I want to live. And then I have enough clients to fill those appointments, right? So that's going very well. I do have some other things in the works. I'm working on some group curriculum. I have a parenting workshop that I would love to get going at some point. I'm writing it out slowly but surely. And then another thing I had the opportunity to do last week was film for a therapy app called How We Get Through. And so I created a course on teen mental health for parents. And so that's coming out, I believe, in October, late October, early November.
I love that. Love it. I didn't even know about the last part, so I'm excited. Filming for apps and creating courses and workshops, like so excited. And that's really another thing I wanted for y'all coming through the program is to understand that with the expertise and the training that we have, there are no limits on
Mm-mm.
income and what can be created and packaged and monetized. Like you can always do that at any stage of your career. Like there's a possibility because you're so good at what you do, or you could only do workshops and not even have to do one-on-one sessions and still have a great salary and have your time back. Like that's an option too that is always on the table. So I'm so excited.
Me too. It is amazing. Like once you're out of the agency mindset, once you're really in that business owner mindset, I just could feel my like creative juices flowing in a way that I hadn't really felt in a very long time, right? Where
Mhm.
you start seeing that there are endless opportunities and you get to change and move things as you want. I've changed my ideal schedule, I think like 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And I just do it, right? Like I'm worried of like, oh, my clients shift with me. Guess what? They do. They shift with you, right? You say, okay, I'm changing this time frame, right? So you really get this kind of creative flexibility that I mean I haven't experienced until I started. So it's been really cool.
Mhm. Can you talk about I don't even know if you had this, but I'll just ask because you work with teens, did you have any fears about your schedule and doing daytime appointments and everything having to be in the evenings and after school and trying to accommodate parents and traffic? Like how did you work through that to be able to build your caseload?
Yes, I had a lot of anxiety about that. Yeah, I think that I was envisioning that I would only be able to get teen clients and that I would have to do like only nighttime hours. And I was starting to have concerns about that. But what I realized is, through my marketing, because I am also marketing to parents and really to anyone who has adolescent trauma, whether I knew it or not, right? Because I got started getting a lot of requests from adults. I realized I can fill my caseload wherever I want to. I like seeing teenagers, so I have slots in the afternoon, but I have a limited amount of slots and I'm full and I don't see any new people outside of those slots, right? So I think before I started, I'm like, how will I fill my caseload? Will I have to take whoever, whenever? But what I've learned is I don't. I can make decisions that are good for my life, right? My son has baseball this season. I just had to move appointments with a client. It was no problem.
Mhm.
It was
I
no
love it.
problem. Yeah, and I've opened up more morning slots because I'm getting more and more adults who are wanting to meet with me, whether they're parents of teenagers or they're adults who are, processing trauma from their teen years. There are people available to meet all day long. So you get to pick your hours
Yeah.
and figure it out as you go. It's like a puzzle, you're just kind of moving the parts around till it all fits together nicely.
I love that. And your experience was very unique because you have a background in marketing. So, can
Mhm.
you speak to how you were able to market in different ways to attract these clients to your practice beyond the oh, I need Psychology Today, live or die for my practice? Like, how did you go about your marketing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have I have an interesting background, which is that in my undergraduate degree, I studied product design at Ed.S, College of Art and Design in Los Angeles. And in that program, they're teaching you entrepreneurship. And so, there's a lot of marketing that goes into it, right? Like you're designing products and then you're also practicing marketing skills, advertising, and there's a lot of graphic design. So I happen to have some of that background. And I have to say, I haven't used it professionally in a really long time. And so that part of it was very fun for me. I was able to I used Wix to build my website, which I love Wix. I think that it gives you a lot of creative freedom, but it's also easy to use. I would recommend market like any other business, right? Like pick your color schema. They sell them on Etsy. You don't have to make it up.
Mhm.
I got mine on Etsy, right? Like they'll give you your RGB. You put that into Canva. You put that into Wix. And now you have a branded color palette, right? So you want to do things that are visually exciting for people. If you look at a brand like Target, if you look at, any brand, right? They are using specific colors, they're using specific fonts. And so I really got into all of that. I happen to have a background in it, so it was helpful. But you don't need to have that background, right? Pick your fonts, get a logo that you like. You can build one in Canva. I happen to I have some friends in design. So I had one of my best friends, I paid her. I had one of my best friends design my logo for me. It was a logo I loved. Make your Pinterest board, create visuals so that you can build a brand that is like you, right? Any
Mhm.
friend that goes to my website is like, oh my God, this is so you, right? They know that it's like, it's coming from me, right? So I think the visual marketing is something we don't always think about as therapists. And I think it's just as important as everything else because that's how branding works.
Mhm.
So that was a big thing for me. I did do directories. I'm on Alma. I'm on directories as well. Everything is very clean. It's all the same language, right? And so just making everything very clean. And when you build that business plan, you start creating your marketing language there,
Mhm.
right? So I was able to copy and paste a lot of what I did in my business plan right into my marketing, whether it was my website, my Alma profile, uh, you know, even for the app, I was able to pull, when I introduced myself, I already had an intro, right? I already had a bio,
Yep.
just pulled it in, set it for the app, right? So you really want to spend time creating your copy, right? The language and also your visual marketing, I think is really important.
That's amazing. And I love how how honest you are about it because a lot of people, like they don't get started because they don't have the website or they don't have the logo. Like those are good assets to have, but if you don't have them, you can still build it and get
Mm-hmm.
and get clients up front and then take the money from those clients and get your graphics made or get your website going because
Absolutely.
these are expenses. They're still like monthly subscriptions. They're not expensive, but you're going to need something coming in to be able to afford some of these things that you can't do for free on Canva.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that takes time. Like I didn't always have all these logos and like even the streaming platform that we use to record the podcast and this site that we host our podcast on Kajabi. I didn't have all that. I couldn't even afford all that. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm 5 years in. So now I can start to expand and use some other things to help really grow my practice for the sake of marketing. So we're doing good. Next question. Let's talk about your personal accomplishments. I know we talked about like what you're doing in your practice, what you're offering, all the great things you've been able to do, but who has Emily become in the process of this journey?
Yeah, well, I think just, related to being a business owner, I think, I've become much more confident, much more self-assured. Uh, I incorporated, right? I'm a professional corporation. And so what's funny is you become the CEO of your company, right? Even if it's just one person.
Mhm.
And at first that was uncomfortable. That was very strange. And then it just shifted, right? As I got more clients and I became more confident, I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw CEO on my LinkedIn profile because I am like,
Mm.
I'm literally legally the CEO of my company. And I think that was a really fun, amazing shift, right? Like that really just, it's hard to have imposter syndrome when you're calling yourself a CEO.
Yep.
And I think it's good practice. And if you're incorporated, it's actually like legally your title.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of legitimacy there. So, in terms of just my sense of professionalism, I think I've really gained ownership over the idea that I'm a therapist. that I'm a business owner, that I'm a CEO. Uh, on a more personal level, a lot of my reasons why, as I said before, were holistic. I just, I have two children and I wanted to be able to walk them to school. Right. I
Mhm.
like, I like yoga. I haven't done yoga in like, in a class, right. for maybe like 7 years. I wanted to be able to go to yoga. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my partner. Like I really just wanted to have a more well-rounded life. And I have some chronic health issues too, so I had to account for that, right? Like how
Sure.
much am I willing to work, in order to maintain my health? And so I think I've really been able to find a balance there, right? I see, like I said, maybe 12 to 17 clients a week. I'm able to go to a doctor's appointment if I need to. I'm able to walk my kids to school and pick them up every day from school,
Mhm.
right? And so to me, those are also personal accomplishments because they're things I've wanted for so long and now they're here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love it. And that was something I wanted for y'all too. Everybody in the program was to learn how to build this practice around your life
Hmm.
and not the other way around. Like we're not blocking off days in case somebody wants a session. No, set the time. This is when I'm available. Pick a time in these
Yes.
slots right here, and that's it, because we're walking kids to school, we're taking vacations, we're taking long lunch breaks, giving our food time to actually digest, we're going for walks, we're sleeping in late. Like I wanted y'all to have those kind of options, because when you're rested and fulfilled and your marriage is intact and your kids love you and you're present and you are not missing the fact like, oh my god, my kid grew an extra 2 inches, like when did that happen? When you're able to see all of that and feel your body be rested because you're doing yoga and you're hydrated, you can really start to build some major, major things inside of your business. If you want to, you don't have to, but it's easier to be creative and strategic and negotiate business deals when you're rested and your
Yes.
life feels balanced and aligned. And it's because you built it that way and you set
Hmm.
it up that way and you get to reap the benefits. So, um, last question ish, kind of. So, can you tell them like what it was like working with me for business coaching? We've talked about it. We've talked about some nuggets here and there, but like what was it like working with me for people who are like, I'm thinking about it, but I'm scared. I don't know what I want to do yet.
Yeah. Well, I think, Cameisha, I think you're very approachable and kind and compassionate. And I appreciate that you're authentic. I think that's something that's really important for me, right? Is to just feel authenticity from those I'm working with. And so, going to your challenge, I think I could feel those things. The other thing is that you really like light a fire for people. You're encouraging. I mean, you're a therapist, right? So but I think that you have the ability to really lift people up and help them grow in their confidence. And that's really what this is about. Because I think for most people, kind of on that edge, right, of jumping in, it's like what you need to do. We're all anyone that's at the point at which they can open a private practice. They've done a lot of work to get there. They're all
Hmm.
very accomplished, right? They're licensed, they've been working in the field, but it's that confidence, right? It's that leap that's so hard to take. And I think you're a really, really great person to kind of hold people's hands through that process. Uh, I find you to be very non-judgmental, right? And I also appreciate that you allow for people to develop their own business models. That was something that
Hmm.
was really important to me in choosing a coach. Was some people are like all about this one particular way to do it, and what I really appreciated about you is you provided a lot of options and you didn't judge anybody's choices. So I think you're very flexible, and that was another thing that was helpful. And the last thing I'll say is that a lot of it has to do with marketing, and I know that's something you're very good at, but I really think that you created a very holistic program. It's not just the marketing, all the tools you've created. It really walks you through like every part of your business. And that for me was also a huge reason that I chose to work with you.
Thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
I think it needed to be said, first of all, not just about me, but for anyone who's considering working with any coach. Like, what are some things to be looking for or listening
Hmm.
for, or even just asking about when you get a chance to do the discovery call or the clarity call? Like, if I don't do it how it's written in the program, or if I don't
Right.
follow the curriculum to a T, is it going to work for me? I'm like, it's going to work if you make it work. It doesn't even matter how you need to build it. And I wanted y'all to have that freedom and the flexibility and the confidence to pivot whenever you need to pivot. Like some of
Hmm.
y'all were in the program and pregnant. I'm like, we got to pivot in a whole different way because you got time right now, but in the next 90 days, you may be up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning nursing your baby. You can still have a practice, but we got to build the practice around you and baby and you being sleep deprived. Like I wanted to be really intentional about just
Yes.
the nuances of what life really looks like for therapists who are in any season of life, chronic illnesses, going through divorce, co-parenting from different states. Like these are the real issues. And you can have a practice, but it's not going to be cookie cutter. And I don't care if we try to make it fit that, it's just not. And so I wanted y'all to feel that from me and to
Mhm.
have those options and confidently say, you know what, this ain't working for me anymore. We have to pivot. We have to do things differently. And I'm so grateful for you and so proud of all your accomplishments and everything you've been working on. So can you tell them what's next for Emily? Like what's on the horizon?
Yeah. I think it's more of the same, but more intentional, right? Like even more. So just more time with my kids, more self-care. I'm still working out what that looks like. I'm experimenting. Like I have my yoga class. I did get myself a Burke Williams membership as my present for leaving the district. Yes. Um, we'll
Amazing.
see. We'll see if I stick with that. But that's what's nice, right? Is I get to explore myself again in a way that I haven't been able to in years. So I think that's what's next is really continuing this holistic journey of figuring out how to take care of my health while owning a successful business. Certainly I'd love to do some workshops with parents. I want to do a grief group. I used to do a grief group at the district and I really like doing that. So I'd love to do like a teen grief group. So there's some professional things on the horizon as well. I definitely want to get deeper into my social media marketing, which I've been kind of toying with. I've been playing with and trying things on, but I'd love to get more of a rhythm there. So some business goals and a lot of personal goals headed my way.
That's wonderful. So, so proud. So, with the social media, can you tell people how they can connect with you and how they can find you and learn more about your practice?
Yes. So my Instagram and TikTok is at wildflower.mentalhealth. So again, that's wildflower.mentalhealth. And then you can find my Facebook page. It's Wildflower Mental Health and Wellness on Facebook.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we put all of your links in the show notes and then in the description so that people can easily reach out to you and contact you, book you for services, or just be nice. Like I think there's a space for that too on social media.
Yeah.
Like everything doesn't have to be business. Let's work together. Like, hey, your shirt's cute today. Like, that's okay to say to people. Like, I really appreciated your video. It was really helpful. That's social, right? And it's
Yes.
media, but it's still social and helpful. So, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us and to share with our audience. We're praying blessings for you and your family and the clients that you're serving because we know that you're doing some serious work and helping people transform their lives.
Thank you so much, Cameisha. I really appreciate all your help and all of your encouragements. And thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you check out all of Emily's resources. We'll put the links in the description for this episode, and we will see you guys next time.